Sausage. Hello everyone, this is First, a work in progress title? That sounds more like it, but I'm just calling it First, F-I-R-S-T, all capital letters, to really get the point across, where I give my first impressions on a game. I may change the title to something a bit more original at some point in the future, but this is going to be a first impression series where I stream a game and then immediately just spit out my thoughts on it. And the first episode of this here brand new show is about Shadow Man Remastered, a remastering of a little game called Shadow Man, a PlayStation 1 era game that I believe came out on PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64, and PC, and has recently got a remaster, and keep that in mind, it is a remaster and not a remake, so it is still very much so a PS1 era game, and not a remake with contemporary mechanics and visuals and all that jazz. I never played this game when it originally came out. It is based on a comic property about this man, the Shadow Man, who has to go and collect the Dark Souls. The game really likes to say Dark Souls a whole bunch, and I had fun with that.
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls, the Dark Souls, Dark Souls.
Dark Souls, Dark Souls.
The Dark Soul, the Dark Souls.
What am I, a Dark Soul travel guide now?
The vibe of the world and the story is grabbing me, but I have no idea what the hell is going on. At one point, I was given a pretty big dump of text, and I read it all, and I was like, there's a whole bunch of crap going on. I'm not exactly sure what is going on specifically, but I'm here for it. I'm liking it. The problem, though, is that visually, I really like it. I think there is something charming. I don't know if it's just at this point in our lives, like we're seeing a lot of games, new games, use this limited polygonal aesthetic, this PlayStation 1 era aesthetic, and there's something charming about it to have that aesthetic but have it cleaned up and really sharp and all that. I like the look of it. And I think it controls decently. However, the camera can get real finicky at times and just go crazy. There was one point where it just completely lost its mind when I was on this thin little like bridge and I was trying to go into this little hut that was on an elevated platform, and there was an enemy in there, and the camera just kept going back and forth real fast, and it was a very taxing moment for me. But the problem with the game is that, one, it is from the late 90s, and it still has those aspects of gaming where they don't tell you a lot, and they don't really help you and guide you all that much. And with this remaster, they didn't do a lot to make it a more accessible experience in that sense. There is apparently a hint system, which may or may not existed or have existed in the original release, but to my knowledge, in the hour and 15 or so minutes I put into the game, I don't remember there being a hint at any point. And they would have been useful at some points. Like, for instance, in order to interact with these gates that allow you to progress and continue with the story and everything, you have to walk up to them without your gun equipped. So you have to holster your gun in order to interact with them, which they may have assumed you would have known by the fact that when you grab a rope to climb across it, you have to unequip your gun in order to climb across it because you need both hands in order to do it. And if you have your gun equipped, you can't really do it. So you have to unequip your gun. And instead of the game just naturally realizing that's what you would want to do. And I think at one point, I even walked up to one of these podiums to open a gate. And I didn't have my gun equipped, but it didn't do anything until I equipped my gun in front of it and then unequipped it in front of it. So it can be kind of weird in that sense. And then the platforming is real tricky at times. It's in part because the camera can be a little weird, but also you have no ability to correct yourself after committing to a jump. So once you've jumped, once you've committed to that jump, that's where you're going. If you're a little off, too bad. You're going to fall and you're going to have to redo it. Thankfully, there's no fall damage. And another one of the problems is that the game just is super fucking easy. It can be frustrating because of control issues and stuff like that, and ways it was designed from an era long, long ago, and in no way it was updated for the current time. But the enemies, up until the point that I've played, I've reached the asylum, they're just incredibly easy. They don't pose much of a threat, and my current gun, I noticed in the pause menu that I will eventually get guns that do use ammo, but your basic shadow gun, whatever it is, you just have unlimited ammo with it. And there's no reloading time or anything. So there's no negative to just firing crazy and firing repeatedly and nonstop. You don't have to worry about anything, not ammo, reloading, or anything. You can fire as much as you want to your heart's content, and you're fine. And why I stopped playing after the hour and 50 minutes I put into it was because I started getting bored of it. I really like the vibe of it. I like the voice acting. I think the voice acting, I don't know if maybe they cleaned up the audio a bit, but I don't think they did or redid anything. I think the voice acting is pretty good, and it works well with the overall vibe. There's a campy nature to it, but it's all handled really well. And I think the story is fun and all that, but I just quickly stopped enjoying the act of playing the game. It's incredibly easy in terms of any type of challenge with the enemies and whatnot. And then the platforming can be frustrating. So it can be frustrating at times for the wrong reasons, and is too easy for, I mean, not the wrong reasons. It's just the combat and all that. You have incredibly generous aim assist, auto aim, whatever you want to call it, with your guns. So it's borderline impossible, if not entirely impossible, to not hit an enemy who is remotely in your line of sight. And it makes for a very dull experience, because what you end up being there for is the world and all that. And that's not enough here, because it just isn't. There's not one saving grace to the gameplay at this point. It can be frustrating, it's often too easy, and there's no particular satisfying aspect of the game. The most fun I had with it, gameplay-wise, was when I first got my gun, because there is the shadow area, the dead realm or whatever it was called, or the dead space. Well, I think it might have been called dead space in the living space. But in the living world, you have a regular pistol, which also has unlimited ammo. And this church or whatever it is where you first go, or like that's your first destination, where you meet up with Nettie, who is this voodoo lady who is helping you along the way. When you first get there, it is surrounded by Rottweilers who will chase you if you get too close to them. But once you get your gun, you just go out there and you can shoot them all. And I had way too much fun shooting every single one of the dogs and annoying the hell out of some of my streamers, or bothering some of my streamers by watching this ridiculous dog murder. And some of the dogs exploded. And then your shadow gun, some of the enemies, like the base, whatever, weak enemies who don't pose much of a threat, or pose the least amount of a threat, when you shoot them 3 times, they then start to like wiggle their butt, and light comes out of it, and then they explode out of their butt. So it's like an anal probe gun. It's actually better than the anal probe gun from Destroy All Humans. But ultimately, Shadow Man Remastered is something I appreciate more than I enjoy. I love seeing games like this get the remastering treatment, the cleaning up and everything. That's why I really love original Xbox games via backward compatibility on the Xbox Series platforms and Xbox One X, because they just look really nice and clean, and that's what you get here. I appreciate that a lot. But if you're coming into this as a first-time player like me, you might find yourself frustrated with the controls, the lack of direction, the lack of any type of hints, the ease of the gameplay. There's a lot that might disappoint you. But if you are someone who appreciates games from yesteryear and longer ago, I think you might get something out of this, because like I said, the world and the voice acting, all that, the story and everything is interesting. And if that is enough for you to keep wanting to push forward, I think you might have a good time. But like I said, the gameplay just wasn't there in any way to make me want to continue with Shadow Man Remastered. But if you'd like to check it out, it is available on all platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. So you can do that. You can also play the original version, I believe, via GOG if you want to do that. Maybe take your fancy that way and then try the remastered. But again, the remaster is just a remaster, not a remake, so there's no real reason not to check out the remaster. There's some decent settings in there for visual alterations and ability to lower the anti-aliasing and stuff like that. But yeah, for me, it just didn't hit the way I wanted to gameplay wise. And because of that, I can't give it a universal recommendation. But it is something that may potentially be worth checking out. Anywho, that will do it for this year. First episode of First. Once again, I am Mark Kuznes, which I say once again, I don't think I said that at the top of this show, but that's okay. This is all just a trial. We're seeing how this goes. We're trying new things. But yeah, I am Mark Kuznes. Y'all can find me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you'd like to see me streaming games like Shadow Man Remastered, you can do so over at twitch.tv/PX Sausage. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, you can watch more here on the YouTubes. So if you aren't already, like, subscribe, hit that bell, baby, all that jazz. And the site is, of course, pixelatedsausage.com, where you can find more stuff like this, some podcasts, and what have you. You can also find the art I make on the site, and if you see something you like, you can purchase a print of the piece you fancy. And if you fancy the site in general and anything that we do, please go over to patreon.com/pxs and support us that way. Anywho, that will do it for this here episode of First. So thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye.